you build all that story, you finally have them get married, and then out of nowhere, you want to do a whole reset of the character. They can tell they wanted to make a mashup of like the best parts of Toby's suit and the best parts of Andrew's suit. I think that's one of the biggest criticisms of the John Watts trilogy. I think there's a whole joke about how like, oh yeah, he's broke and he's sad again, but I think that's what makes a really good Spider-Man story.
CJ's Got Takes. Whether it's breaking down brand new K-pop releases, calling out weird Reddit opinions, or debating if Spider-Man just dropped the greatest movie of all time, Christian Borda brings the commentary, the laughs, and the real talk. Turn it up. This is CJ's Got Takes.
Hey, welcome to another episode of CJ's Got Takes. How you guys doing? How's your day going so far? I'm doing pretty good. Don't mind the face. I don't know why, but I don't know why it's looking red. Maybe I need to put more sunblock. Who knows? Today I want to talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Yes, now we're going to talk about some comic book movie stuff. Spider-Man Brand New Day is swinging into theaters in July 31st of this year, and I'm pretty excited about it. I think why I really wanted to talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day is the recent news of the test screening. So if I can pull it up for you guys. So as you see here, guys, some of the test screenings are kind of coming out as overwhelmingly positive, and some are claiming it's some people who came out of these test screenings are saying it's excellent and everything. And of course, these are just test screening as well, so you can't really gauge your opinions off test screenings because sometimes they could be really good and then the movie's like really bad. There is times where this happens. I think Suicide Squad, the original one, before the James Gunn one, had really good screenings, and then it was actually a really bad movie. So, but it's supposedly a lot of good, like, positive test screening so far, and I think that made me really want to talk about this movie. What makes Brand New Day so important? So, based off the title, Brand New Day is very significant. This is why I really like the title. I really think you can tell they really love the comics because Brand New Day is also the comic book that follows after one of the biggest controversial storylines in Spider-Man, which is One More Day, which is also the inspiration of No Way Home, where Peter kind of does that deal with Mephisto to save Aunt May's life, and in exchange he kind of sacrifices his marriage with Mary Jane. But then it's a pretty it was a very controversial story because it was kind of the end of the Amazing Spider-Man line, which is like it spanned like 100 issues. So it's kind of like you build all that story, you finally have them get married, and then out of nowhere you want to do a whole reset of the character and put him back into his roots, even though he had all this story development. It was I remember just reading how controversial that was back in the day, and so but I think this has way more weight to it because it's a reset for Tom Holland's Peter Parker. So I'm very excited for that. You can tell I think that's such a nice touch. I think that's honestly like a perfect title for this new movie. So yeah, and also one thing I always want to talk about too is just the significance of this being like the first like ever like fourth movie for Spider-Man. We know with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, he was supposed to get the fourth movie, but of course they chose to do the reboot with Andrew Garfield. But we know how they were gonna do the whole like Vulture in that one with John Malkovich. It was gonna be more bloody, more brutal. But of course, we never really got that. And then with Andrew Garfield, he never really got his third movie because how really bad, how how bad the second movie was. But yeah, but great Spider-Man though. But yeah, so I think this is very important. I think this is very cool that Tom Holland gets to have his fourth movie because I think it's great. So I'm excited for that. I think I just want to talk about some of the things I like. I mean, some of the things I like so far from what we're seeing from promotions, the trailers, and all that, and just news about it. And maybe I want to share some like risk as like some concerns as well I have for the story and the movie, and maybe also what I want to see. But yeah, let's get into it. So my first my first thing I'm looking or I think is looking really good is the suit. This suit is really good. I You could tell they're kind of taking a lot of how do you say this? Taking a lot of criticisms that they've been getting with Tom Holland's Spider-Man with his original trilogy and kind of like applying that. So I think the first thing they did was the suit. And of course we saw the suit in No Way Home at the end, but let me pull up the suit right now. So yeah guys, so just taking a look at the suit, I think it's incredible. I think it's really good. It's very classic Spider-Man suit. I think they also love I think they want to make a match they could tell they wanted to make a match of like the best parts of Toby's suit and the best parts of Andrew's suit. I think one is the red. Let me see if there's a picture of it, but like at the back it has like the red Spider-Man logo. I think that's very reminiscent of Toby's suit where he also had like the red at the back. Oh, right here. Yeah. This part right here, this like I both but yeah, it's just like the red Spider-Man logo in the back. And let's see. And I think with this right here, you can see this is kind of inspired by the Andrew Garfield part of his suit, where it's like a elongated Spider-Man logo, and I think it's amazing. And of course, it's very comic accurate, and it looks amazing. Like also how like baggy it is to show kind of the homemade feel of it, and you could tell like they really want to get back to his roots with this suit as well. Also with the really the really chunky Spider-Man web shooters. I think I think it's amazing. From the rumors that I've been hearing is that rumors, they're going to give Tom Holland the organic Spider-Man web shooters, just like just like Toby's. And so, what I think about that, I think that's a lot of people. I think are gonna like that, but for me, I think it's not a big problem. But I think it's something. It's a story element you could definitely use that like how can I say this? I think taking away his web shooters is kind of a big how do I say this? Big missed opportunity because why I like him having his web shooters instead of having the organic shooters is you writers are allowed to kind of put Peter and Spider-Man to different obstacles. Like let's say if his web shooters are gone, he has to kind of think resourcefully in those stories. And I think they're gonna have a big missed opportunity in doing that. And I kind of love how homemade it looks. Like it looks so chunky and it's so like homemade, and I love that. It's not like minimal or anything. It's like very homemade. I think it's very true to the character as well. But of course, I think they really want to do what they wanted to get some inspiration from Toby's with organic shooters. So yeah, but I really love these web shooters, and the costume is amazing as well. The big eyes, of course. What else can we talk about? Also, how shiny it is. I don't know if they kind of took away the shininess of the blue, but I hope they didn't. But it looked like they did. But I kind of liked it because it kind of shows like he's getting more of a cheaper material of the costume of the materials. And but overall, I think this suit's amazing. This is a very good costume, very back to basics. I really like that. What else? Another thing I do want to talk about is just the marketing and the posters. If I can share the posters as well. Let's talk about the posters, right? Brand new day poster. Just the posters as well, yeah. If we could take a look at these posters, oh my goodness, it's so it's amazing. Pun intended, pun intended. Yeah, just very you could tell they're getting a lot of inspiration from Sam Raimi's and applying that to here. As you can see, it's kind of with the whole sunset type of vibe in the background. I want to talk about this one first. This was amazing, where it's like reflective. I love this because it's such a big change from such a big change from previous Spider-Man posters that we've been getting for Tom Holland, where it's just like the floating heads is very obvious with all the MCU movies where they have all the floating heads. Like let's look at Spider-Man No Way Home poster like this like it's cool, but I think we see too much of that, and it's very prevalent in a lot of MCU movies where there's just like a lot of floating heads and everything. And yeah, well, of course we have these too, but something with more character. Like this is a great poster. You know, I love this, but yeah, I kind of don't like the whole floating heads thing. So that's why I think going back to like this, where with the Sam Raimi posters, where it's just like pure like aura, pure like pure like super dramatic and everything. And that's what I really love. And also just like posters like this too, where he's like going against the hand as well. And I think that's amazing. I think it's very dramatic, and that's what I love about these posters so far. And yeah, I think it just shows they kind of plucking what really works from like past Spider-Man movies and what also works for Tom Holland's Spider-Man as well. So I think that's another thing they have going on for them. What else can we talk about? Another thing I really like is that we're going back to him being a street level superhero. I think that's one of I think that's one of the biggest gripes of Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I think they know that as well, is that they kind of take him out of New York. I think that's the biggest gripe of Far From Home is that you kind of take him out of New York when that's like his home base and doing more street level stuff because this Spider-Man, of course, he's very a lot he's in a lot of Avenger stories and all that. Yeah, I think it's really good that we're kind of taking him back to his roots of just street level and being the neighborhood Spider-Man, like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I think that's one of the biggest pros of Tom Holland's trilogy was those times where he's just like doing Spider-Man stuff. I think that's one of my favorite parts of Spider-Man Homecoming is when he's just doing like neighborhood, like fun, like just helping the neighborhood around and not he doesn't have to be doing all these like like crazy stuff, just helping being like a neighborhood Spider-Man. I think that's what Homecoming and that's what John Watts like really got right about Spider-Man. And so I think that's really great that we're going back to street level stuff and yeah, just kind of going back to that type of storytelling. So yeah, what else? So another thing I'm excited about is that we're kind of getting back to the classic Spider-Man themes. So like the whole thing with every Spider-Man story kind of goes with this so far is his duality, his responsibilities as Spider-Man and his life as Peter Parker. I think you could tell they really want to go back to that core and just and do more storytelling around that. And I really like that because that's one of that's what makes a great Spider-Man story, and I think you could tell they really want to go back to those roots. And so I'm excited for that, honestly. I think there's a whole joke about how like, oh yeah, he's broke and he's sad again, but I think that's what makes a really good Spider-Man story. I think that's what everyone laughs of jokes about it because that's really what makes a really good Spider-Man story is how he overcomes that stuff, how he overcomes his grief, and how he his balance as a person as a character as well. And yeah, I'm very excited for that. Let's keep talking about. Also, I'm very excited that for the side characters we're getting. I mean, that's one of the biggest pros of Spider-Man being in the MCU now is that he can kind of just interact with the MCU characters. And I think it's also great that now we have the Netflix characters coming back, which is of course Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones. I think that's really great because now I'm very happy that we're gonna have John Berthal, Punisher, interact with Spider-Man because I think that's so fun. I'm not familiar with the comics too much, but I think that's really great having like such a rated R character just interacting with Spider-Man. You could tell they like it's gonna be fun. It looks really fun. Their chemistry is gonna look really fun as well. And just him interacting with street level heroes is gonna be really great. And it feels and also you can't forget to mention that they also have Mark Ruffalo coming back as Bruce Banner Hulk. And of course they have those rumors of so and so he's gonna be the Gray Hulk, the Joe Fixit one, but he's more like classic Hulk. People really miss classic Hulk, where he's all rageful and everything. I think like this is more of a reaction of like giving what the fans want, and I like it, but I think it's just kind of like I think I'm really big on like they just got to commit to what they did now with Hulk, but of course they want to play into what the people want, and I'm not gonna get mad at it at all because who doesn't want like classic Hulk? Because we haven't had classic Hulk in so long. So like you cannot get mad at that. And yeah, I think it's really cool. He's also playing as like a professor, kind of helping Peter as well. And that I think yeah, like I said, that's what really makes Spider-Man being in the MCU so great is that he gets to play around with all these characters around the MCU, other Marvel heroes. So yeah, like of course in previous movies, Doctor Strange, what else can we talk about? Iron Man, look back to the first Spider-Man movie. And yeah, I think that's what makes it great that the type of heroes that you could plug into Spider-Man movies is still have it be a Spider-Man movie. Let's talk about concerns. Yeah, let's go to our concerns now with this movie I have. I think one of my biggest concerns has to be the whole Peter turning into, well, okay, could be spoilers, who knows? But I think my biggest thing is the whole him turning into a spider thing. Of course, they're doing the whole Central Peter Parker's Spider-Man story where he's being too much Spider-Man to the point where he doesn't have Peter Parker stuff, and instead of it affecting just his relationships, it's also affecting him as Spider-Man, which in this story could be spoiler. It's already probably is looking like it in the trailers that he's becoming literally a spider. Like he's gonna turn, like he's literally becoming a spider, and I think that's just a weird storyline to play with. I'm not familiar too much with the story, but I remember watching it with from the Spider-Man anime series back in like the 90s, I believe. And I always thought I remember watching that and like thought that was a weird story. Like I think that's really weird just making him a spider. Like him slowly turn to a spider. I think it's just so weird. But you can kind of get why they're kind of doing it. But we'll see. I really like I mean, look what they did with One More Day. They took the core concept of One More Day and they applied it to our Tom Holland Spider-Man. So it still keeps me optimistic that this will be a really good movie because, as you see, they can make a really controversial storyline into something really good, which is No Way Home. I don't really like that story still, or I don't really like the idea of him turning to a spider. You can do anything else, just like stick with the core concept of just him, not being able to balance well and stuff is fine. But I think that's kind of like my biggest thing. I think other than that, I think we're in for a really good Spider-Man story. I think we're really in. I really do believe in what the test screen are saying, that it being excellent because it's looking really good. And also, you have Daniel Desicredin, who, if you guys didn't know, he directed Shang-Chi and recently he did Wonder Man, which is which has a really great reviews. I haven't watched it yet, but has really good reception, and now is going to have a season two. So I'm very happy about that. And of course, with Shang-Chi, arguably, I'm gonna make this take. I think it's probably one of like the best like fight choreography we have ever seen in all of the MCU. Just pure hand-to-hand combat, and I'm really excited to see that in fruition in this Spider-Man movie. So yeah, I think we have a really good director for this new Brand New Day movie. And yeah, I'm just excited for it, honestly. Yeah. I know if recall, I think they also wanted to give Daniel Distant credit in King Dynasty before they changed it to Doomsday. But now that he's doing Spider-Man, I'm very excited for that. So yeah, I'm very excited. There's a lot of things to be excited about for this movie. So okay, now I want to go into what I want to see in this movie. I wanted a more grounded human Peter Parker. I think that just meaning just I think one of my favorite Spider-Man movies is Spider-Man 2. And people like the biggest concern about Spider-Man 2 was that it's too much Peter Parker stuff. But I honestly really like that. I know some people have biggest gripe on that, but I that's what I really like is that just more of Peter Parker, more of his daily life and how it affects him as Spider-Man in his daily life. I think I just wanted to see more of that, just more of him being Peter Parker and more of his struggles. Because of course they put him now he's back to his how do you say this? He's in an apartment by himself, struggling with bills and like school as well, try to balance everything as well. And yeah, just I think they as you see in the trailers, I think they really are gonna nail that. So I'm very excited for that. I think another thing I want to talk about is more Spider-Man City work. I think that's what I really love about the John Watts like Spider-Man trilogy is that those little parts. I don't think we got too much of it because of course Far From Home kind of took him out of New York, so I would really want more like scenes of him just doing more city work for sure. Just him like being a neighborhood Spider-Man and yeah, just him being more of a neighborhood Spider-Man. Like like, of course, I think they kind of do that really good with Sam Raimi's trilogy, with even the Andrew Garfield was. I think that's one of the biggest pros of Spider-Man 2. Even though the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably the worst Spider-Man movie, I think that movie really understand how to show how Spider-Man operates, and I think, and just how, he's being named for Spider-Man. He's helping people around his neighborhood. He's just literally like he's literally like there's a scene of him in Amazing Spider-Man where he's just he's sick, but he's still like doing his job as Spider-Man, just like, but he's just getting medicine. He's getting stuff from like the bodega. Like I love those scenes because it kind of shows him how he operates, and I think I would want more of that. Of course, we get some of that in the John Watts trilogy, but of course, I think I would really want more of that. Another thing I want to see, just like New York being its own character. I think that's what makes a Spider-Man story really good is when New York is its own character. I think the one Spider-Man movie that really like understood this was Spider-Man 1. Despite how cheesy Spider-Man 1 is, I think it's Spider-Man 1 is cheesy. But like I think the one thing it really did great in is New York being its own character. I think I kind of attribute back to that whole scene of where like like Green Goblin is like getting like trash thrown at from New York citizens, and they're all just throwing stuff at it. I think that's probably one of the best depictions of New York being its own character, and like I think that kind of exemplifies like, oh, like how they react to Spider-Man and how much they actually like how much Spider-Man means to them. So I think I just really want to see more of that in this trilogy, is just how people in New York react to him and everything. I think that's what was really good in like the first part of No Way Home, is just after he gets outed and everything, like he's saving people, but like people just throwing stuff at him. People like he's doing Spider-Man stuff, but people don't like him because they believe Mysterio. So I think I would just really love more of that. And ooh, another thing I wrote was more hand-to-hand combat stuff. I think, of course, that's something else that the John Watts trilogy was I think that's one of the biggest criticisms of the John Watts trilogy, was that the hand-to-hand combat, people really had that concern because we're so used to that. Sam Raimi Spider-Man, that dude would catch your hands, but with Toby's Spider-Man, that man will just face you right up and just like start punching you or just like start brawling with his villains. Like he literally just starts brawling with Sandman. Like he just starts throwing hands. Like even though like that man's just sand. Like he's just throwing hands. He's like he's not trying to like move around fast and everything. He's just throwing the hands. So I think I really want to see more of that. And of course, I think that was one of the biggest gripes people had with Homecoming and Far From Home. And that's why No Way Home, they had a lot of hand-to-hand combat with Green Goblin. That's why I think they wanted to add Willem Dafoe back as Green Goblin. Was look, now there's way more hand-to-hand combat. It's very brutal. You feel every punch. I kind of just love those scenes. Those scenes are so fun to watch. And yeah, I think that's kind of another thing I want to be seeing, just more of hand-to-hand combat, really. And I think that you can tell they really understand that too in the trailers. So yeah, now let's talk about the bigger picture of all this. I think with the whole state of the MCU right now, they're really focusing on creating a good movie first and then setting up in the post-credit scene. And you can tell they're really doing that right now because with all the whole, of course, everyone's asking, where's Tom? Well, I mean, where's Tom Holland Spider-Man and Doomsday? Was blah, 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 blah. Like, I think you could tell they really just focusing on, like, we're here to just make a good Spider-Man story and put him back to his roots. So I'm very happy about that. So, yeah, so I think that's how I'm gonna wrap it up there. So yeah, leave it in the comments down below. Let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for listening. And yeah, bye guys.